It's quite good doing these karaokes. I mean, makes for a good excuse. I mean, it's been a lifesaver to tell you the truth. Not that I'd even have to be karaoke necessarily. I mean, it could be disco or a traveling salesperson. Anything to get you out of the house, really. It's not that I want to lie. I mean, you don't actually have to lie all the time. I mean, I don't lie. It's just, karaoke. Could be anywhere. Comes in useful. But I'm not a bad man. I mean, not in the sense I do anyone any real harm. Not intentionally. I mean, okay, fair enough. I have been known to sign on every now and again when I'm pulling in a couple of hundred a week, and I have been known to charge a bit more than what was strictly agreed for the odd office party when everyone's a bit too pissed to remember what day it was, but I have to make ends meet, don't I? And it's not what you'd really call bad. I mean, it's not bloody pedophilia, for Christ's sake. No, look, I'm not a bad man. I mean, I'm not a violent man. I wouldn't steal things. I've never hurt anybody. I wouldn't murder anybody. No. Okay, I got my faults. I snore. I fart in bed, etc., etc., etc. But if anyone was going to criticize, I think the worst that they could say about me is that I love too much. I mean, love too much. Is that a sin, is it? It was an ordinary Tuesday night, really. I got home early. Tom was off school with the flu. I had sausages and beans, and Sheila got some nice little Victoria sponged up with a cup of coffee. But I told her I had a big lunch down the Little Chef near Billingham on the way back from my regular gig in Catterick. The regular gig where I have to stay over. So she put it in the fridge. Now, to be quite honest, I disagree with putting cakes in the fridge. I mean, they always come out tasting of raw onions. You know, that weird metallic taste when you take them out the next day. Anyway, so, I was just about to get away early when Sarah came in, screaming the place down. She came back in a right paddy. Apparently she'd been at Guides and got a bollocking of brown ale. For some reason, I don't blame him. I mean, Sarah had been going around with a face like a butcher's ass for months now. And I was kind of fucked if I was going to be drawn into a tribunal about the rights and wrongs of fucking brown ale. So I give her 20 quid to shut her up and I got out sharpish. Ugh, that's the advantage of Sheila thinking I'm driving all the way to Carlisle to do karaoke. I get a little bit of respect for my hard work. A sort of implicit acknowledgement that I'm doing something worthy. I mean, look, if I'm willing to drive all the way to Carlisle to keep things going, well, you get that healthy sort of distance. There's no real questions asked. That's the great thing about Sheila, really. She hates the karaoke. She couldn't shoot coal. And to be quite honest, she hasn't a clue how much I'm really earning. I mean, she doesn't do too bad herself, not since she got the job down at the estate agents, but... well, she only came to the karaoke about 3 times, that was it. It was around then she got the stick. Stroke of luck, really. I suppose if she'd been an addict or something, I never would have met Karen. Or maybe I would have met Karen, but I wouldn't have ended up marrying her. Such is life, eh? You know, I say I'll see you in the morning, regular as clockwork, and I'm out the door and over to New Beacon Hall. Due to the authoritarian nature of the Girl Guides and the petulance of 12-year-old girls, I'm late when I arrive and my tea was in the oven. Sausages again, except this time with a nice onion gravy. I'll tell you one thing about Karen, she makes a decent gravy. Admittedly, she's let herself go over the years, but look, I'm not being judgmental. I mean, I'm no all painting myself, but I do keep myself in good nick, which is no mean feat with all these bloody dinners. Look, I shouldn't be judgmental. I mean, I suppose I'd be the same if I was stuck in a flat all day with a bloody toddler. But she's a nice woman, Karen. She's a caring woman. I mean, when you meet her, you think, oh, all tits and front teeth. But then you get to know her, and you realise there really is more to someone than meets the eye. So anyway, I wolfed down my sausages, whilst we discussed the various matters, such as the gas bill, little Toby's jumpsuit, the technical limitations of Sunderland's defence, the price of eggs, and Victoria Beckham's new haircut. And then went down to the bedroom for a bit of the old, bang hello, how's your father? Well, head down for a bit of the old kip. Now, it's not that I particularly enjoy the sex. I mean, there's not wrong with us, like, and I'm not one to look a gift horse in the mouth, so to speak. But after 5.5 sausages, 2 lots of gas bills, and a 3.5-hour drive up from the coast, carnal pleasures are a lot less appealing than the bit of the old shut-eye, to tell you the truth. That's what I do when I'm here. Right to bed at the earliest opportunity. But I mean, she's bound to think something's up. You know, normally you'd sit down, you'd watch some telly, open some crisps, drink some wine. But I'd feel a fraud just eating crisps. You know, there's something not right with it, just watching telly. It would seem an insult to Sheila. Well, it'd seem an insult to them both, really. Not to mention the kids. Well, it's an insult in general. I don't know. To life, to God. It's an insult if you don't make the most of every waking moment. Plus, we're more equal in bed. And I mean, what she doesn't know in the bedroom isn't as bad as what she doesn't know in the living room. We're just more equal, just laying there. It's a funny thing, that. Anyway, you know what I mean, right? I've only gotten their names mixed up the once. And that only happened because I was knackered. That week, I told Sheila I was staying over at Karen's and everything seemed to get out of hand. I mean, by the end of the week, I'd only slept for 3 days, and that's with doing enough work to keep the rent coming in. I tell you, paying for 2 households? Not easy. So anyway, I was in the full throes of passion with Sheila. I did it again. Karen. I was in the full throes of passion with Karen, and all of a sudden, I could feel myself slipping off in the middle of the job. I mean, I lapsed off for a second, and as I came to, I could hear myself going, Sheila, Sheila. And I looked down. It was like somebody had thrown a cold bucket of water on us. I looked down, and I was looking at Karen, eyes closed, just oblivious to everything. And I'll never know if she heard or not. I mean, maybe that's not the point. Maybe it doesn't matter whether she heard. Maybe, you know, to all intents and purposes, all that really matters is what she does. It's not what she thinks, what goes on up here that matters. Maybe it's what she does. I mean, look, to all intents and purposes, we have a normal marriage. I mean, she must think I work some funny hours and stuff, but all that really matters is that we love each other. You know, same with Sheila, right? You know, all that really matters is that we love each other. That's all. So, back to the night of the 6 sausages. I was laying there. We both were. By now, it was about after 11. We just lay there, smoking my fags. We weren't talking. We were just laying there, you know. I mean, it wasn't sad. We just didn't have anything to say to each other. Truthfully, between you and me, I really wanted to go to bed. But look, it didn't seem important. What seemed important was just being there, being in the moment, you know, quiet. After a while, I went up for a piss. On the way back, I stopped in on the bairns' room. I looked at the little fella, just laying there, with his mouth open, like a little spuggy waiting for his mum. I just stood at his door, stark, bollock, naked, watching the little fella breathing. I realised something weird. I realised, for the first time in a long time, for the first time since I brought the little fella home, I suddenly felt like his dad. And then I realised something even weirder. I'd never been alone with little Toby. I mean, how could I be with all the kids, and I'm always with Karen or Sheila. It was different before I met Karen. I mean, when Sarah and Tom were little, but I'd never really seen them as mine. I mean, I was there when I brought him home from the hospital, and I changed him, and I fed him, and I was there when he was born, etc., 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 but I never really saw him as mine. I mean, he was Karen's, wasn't he? In truth, it was an accident. But there in the darkness, just this little miracle of life, I suddenly felt connected. Just this little thing breathing. I mean, 1 second, There was nothing. And then the next second, there was something. There was Toby. We made something out of nothing. We changed the universe for that person forever. And I mean, that is a completely weird thing. I mean, it's so mysterious. And the more you think about it, the facts of life, the mystery of life, the more mysterious it gets. It's like vertigo or like drugs or something. I mean, and people can try and explain it away. They can try and say egg, spunk, fertilization. But when you look at their little faces, and they're in their little cots, it's not really an explanation. I mean, what living is, what death is, what it is that one day you just won't be here anymore. And I looked at him, an idea in his head, about death or a life or the world or anything. And I thought to myself, one day you're going to be a miserable old bastard when I'm long gone. There's no one can tell you what that means. Ugh. Karen came in and touched my arm. I physically jumped for a second. I forgot she even existed, to be quite honest. I mean, look, I must have known in the back of my mind, but in that moment, she was completely irrelevant to what I thought of little Toby. Mind you, never wanted to call him that. Toby. I figured it'd be a curse, but with it being her dad's name and him dying young like that. Plus, since she was going to be doing all the donkey work, I figured, it was one of those little battles you had to concede. It was a toss-up between that and Enid. Well, that's what he would have been called if he was a girl. Between that and Eileen. Thank fuck he was a boy, eh? Oh, as I might say, you might think Karen's all tits and front teeth, but there really is more to her than meets the eye. I looked at her. She came in, just standing there, basked in amber light, coming in from a streetlight outside, and I thought to myself, you're not in bad nick, actually. And then I thought to myself, I hope you're not playing the field whilst I'm out busting my balls doing karaoke and fiddling the housing benefit. And I thought, you bastard, why the hell would you think that? I mean, she doesn't even leave the fucking house, not since little Toby was born. Who the fuck is she gonna talk to? I shouldn't blame her. I mean, she's not a bad woman. She's actually a really good woman. She's a nice woman. She's a caring woman. She took my hand, and she was naked too. We were both just naked, stood there in the bairns' room like a proper little family. And I looked at her, and I realised she was crying. You met someone else, she said. I said, don't be stupid. I told her that I loved her, which is true. I do love her. And then she said, you've met someone. Who the fuck am I going to meet? I mean, I ain't got time to fart. Never mind meet anybody. Not with 2 wives, 3 kids, and a budget girl. But obviously she didn't know that, and I couldn't say that. So I just said, no, of course I haven't met anybody. Who would I meet? And I reassured her. And I think she believed me. I think. But you never really know. I mean, I think she believed me because she wanted to believe me. I mean, it's not like I wasn't a devoted father or something. I mean, I am a devoted father. I'm not devoted all the time. I am. I'm just not there a lot, which I'll admit is a bit of a handicap, but in some ways of thinking, it's better than being there all the time, but being a complete pain in the arse. When I'm there, I'm as nice as 9pence. Being completely driven by guilt, I'm vigilant to every opportunity where I can make up for having 2 wives. I mean, look, when you have an affair, it's because you're dissatisfied with your life in one way or another. You're dissatisfied, so you go seeking out other things, and no matter what you can do, you can never really hide that dissatisfaction, can you? It always comes out one way or another. That's psychology, that, that what you are isn't, what's on the surface. It's some weird, uncontrollable thing deep inside you that it's not what you say, what you do. All of that stuff is just veneer. It's this weird thing, and that's psychology. It's that no matter what you do, your lot can read off the facts, no bother. Everyone can read you like an open book. This dissatisfaction, you can never really hide it. They can read away the facts, no bother. Whereas if you're a bigamist, I hate that word, bigamist. Right. Whereas if you're a bigamist, it's not that you're dissatisfied. It's that you're so satisfied with one relationship that you want another one, as well as the first one. It's not the opposite to an affair. It's not even the opposite to like life or something. Life, it's not like that. It can be many things at once. It can be happy, sad, boring, miserable, all sorts of things all at once. I mean, it's not like I stopped loving Sheila when I met Karen. It's not like I stopped loving Sarah and Tom when little Toby was born. It's not that I love Toby any less because he's called Toby. Life's not like that. Well, mind you, you got to be as fit as a lock to get away with this game. I mean, bigamy isn't suited to everyone, but it's not a bad way of living. I mean, I'm not even a bad man. I'm not even a dishonest man. The trouble with me is I just don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. I mean, just one little fib. That's all it takes. One little fib. You're single, aren't you? And you think to yourself, oh, it's going to be a one-night stand. Yes, I am. You say yes because you don't want to hurt her feelings. I mean, you don't want to ruin the situation. But the next time it's worse. I mean, if you tell her now, you'll really ruin the situation. So you just say yes again, over and over. I mean, and on and on. It just gets worse. That's the trouble with me, is I'm too nice. I mean, I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. And I mean, no one's feelings are hurt. As long as I stick to my special little rota and keep everything in order, everyone's happy and no one's any the wiser. No one's any the wiser. So, we went back to the bedroom. She seemed a little happier now too. She just sat there on the bed smoking my cigarettes. And I began to think of Sarah with her Girl Guides and little Tom with his flu. In a weird way, seeing Toby like I did, I mean, it made me feel more connected to Sarah and Tom. Then I heard it. You haven't got any kids, have you? From a previous relationship. And I thought to myself, what makes you think that? What makes you think that? I don't know, it's just something you said. What did I say? What the fuck have I said? What did I say? It's just you said you thought all kids were born good, but that the world corrupts them. Was that what I said? I said that. I said, was that the fuck I said? Well, I didn't say that. Was that what I said? She said, it's the way you said it. A, it's unlikely I'd say such a thing, and B, it's unlikely I'd say it in such a way that someone would assume I had kids. Never mind from a previous relationship. So I told her, no, of course I haven't got kids. What makes you think... Of course I haven't got kids. What makes you think I have kids? Don't be ridiculous. And Karen just looked. Was that a bad thing to have said? I mean, I don't know. What I wanted to say was yes. I have got kids. There's a miserable little sod and the other one's got the flu. I got a wife and I love her, and I met her in Stage Door in 1984. And I got you. I got little Toby. And mind you, it's not normal. Mind you, I gotta tell a few white lies now and again, but it's better than being alone and miserable. And she just looked. And I knew she knew. And I knew I had to say something. I'd seen that look before. I'd seen it in Sheila. It's like you're looking right through a broken heart. I love you. You know that, don't you? And she just looked, which meant she did. Come back to bed, she said. And I knew I had to say something. I looked at her and I knew I had to say something. How away, lover, she said. And I went to bed. And I just lay there. Look, I'm not a bad man. Really, I'm not. And she just lay there too. And my heart was pounding in the darkness. She just lay there. Look, I'm not a bad man. She just lay there. And eventually she just drifted off. After a while, I drifted off too. I'm not a bad man. I'm not. Really, I'm not. Am I? Well, there you go. Next up tonight is